Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I'm still trying to perfect how this works. And I'm hoping that she can help all of this with it. It's been said before that if you think something, it becomes a reality done right. It's called manifesting. Some people believe it. Other people say, come on, how can that even happen? The art of manifesting what you want in life doesn't matter what it is, be it abundance, a sports car, the perfect partner, whatever it is. We're going to talk about that and something called astral travel. Don't even know what that is. She is a hypnotherapist, a coach, a life coach. She does so much to help people transform their lives. And she's back with us. Barness is on the program. Welcome. How you doing?
Hi, I'm so excited. I can't wait for us to jump in and talk about all these really interesting subjects.
Oh, if you were to look in my living room right now, you would see two books that haven't been read, maybe 5 pages. One of them is about manifesting. I heard it was, a great book. I think it's called 369 something. And the other one, another manifesting book. I've been studying this. I still haven't nailed it, in my opinion. Explain manifesting for anybody that doesn't know. I briefly did it, but what's your definition?
Okay, so well, I'll give you a definition, but I'll elaborate. Okay.
Okay.
A long time ago, the book The Secret came out, and everybody was like, oh, I want to manifest. And they thought that if they just really want something and they're really excited about it, it's going to happen. And for most people, it didn't happen. And people thought they were doing something wrong. Which kind of sounds like with your books, like what I'm reading these books and why is that what they're talking about not happening? So I had a really interesting experience that I was excited to share with you. I told you about my esoteric knowledge teleseminars that I've been having.
Mm-hmm.
And that after the second one, I had that cluster of synchronicities. Remember, we talked about it, and you talked about how you see numbers and your mom comes to you and communicates to you through that way. And how everyone who was in my seminar, they all had synchronicities and coincidences happening, which was really unusual. So I was preparing this last week for the seminar that's going to be this Thursday, and I was going to talk about synchronicities. And as I was writing it and preparing it, I started thinking about the things that had happened to me when I had that cluster of synchronicities, and I realized that I had this really unusual manifesting experience, something I'd never had before. And what that was is that I live in a gated community, and I'd received a notification that my lights in the front by my garage had gone out. They needed to be replaced, and that javelinas, which are these animals that live here in the desert, had eaten some of my plants, and I needed to replace them. And I was really busy, so I didn't have time to do it. And I was just driving my car to leave, and I waved my hand to my neighbor, and we talked a little bit, and they said, oh, I noticed your lights are out. And I go, yeah. And he says, well, you know what? I know how to fix everything. Do you want me to come over and fix it? And I go, that would be amazing. And he said, oh, no, it's easy for me. I said, can I pay you? He goes, no. Anyways, I come back. Just like a half an hour later, he'd gone to the store, he'd picked up the stuff, and he had replaced it. It was some kind of an electrical problem. My lights are fixed. Okay. Then the next day I get a knock on the door. Somebody came by, another neighbor, who said, oh, I noticed that your plants have been eaten. I happen to have some plants here that I was going to plant in my landscape and don't really have room for them. Do you want them? And I go, wow, sure. And they said, here, I'll plant them for you. That's an example of what they talk about in those books about manifesting. I didn't do anything. I didn't put it out to the universe that I wanted the universe to bring this to me. It just happened, and it happened within days. And it happened right after my first seminar that I had. So, and then I had another experience, which is why I was bringing up about astral travel, because since I was 23, I started having experiences in the astral plane. So I had different types of experiences when I was dreaming, and they weren't normal dreams. And I started researching what this could be. And I learned that what I'm doing is what it is they talk about how we have a cord that's connected to our body. And when we're sleeping, part of us leaves our physical body and goes into the astral plane and has these different experiences. And so I've been having this throughout my life. So right after the first seminar, and this is unusual to have things happen this much for me. Like I have things throughout my life, but to have so many in such a short time. So before the first seminar, I had received like an email about some kind of event that was taking place in Sedona that where monks from Tibet were coming, and they were having different types of events on different days. And I looked at it, and there were a couple of things I was interested in, but didn't really work with my schedule. So I wasn't planning on going. One night, I have a dream. It was one of my astral travel dreams, but it was different than the others. It was so cool. I didn't know anything really about Tibetan ceremonies or I know about spiritual concepts and things. I apply those in my life and do those in my workshops. But I was sitting in a cave. It was a dark cave, and there was like a fire pit, like a fire going. And behind me was a monk. And I knew it was a monk. He was dressed in like this, like crimson type of robe, heavier robe. And he was standing behind me. And then next to me, I was here. And on my left side, there were 3 monks that were sitting cross-legged. And there might have been a fourth, but it was too dark for me to see because it was further away from the fire. And the monk that was behind me, he handed me a cup, and it was a cup of tea. But it wasn't like the tea we normally drink. It was like tea that's like Chinese tea, when you make your own Chinese tea and with the leaves and the herbs and everything, and you cook it on your stove and it's thick. It was like that. So I woke up and I thought, wow, that was neat, right? But I'm used to having unusual experiences, but I'd never had something. Well, I just took it in stride, okay? And then when I woke up, I thought, you know what? There's the Tibetan monks that are coming to Sedona. I wonder if there's anything connected with that's related to it. So I looked up, and that weekend they were having a tea ceremony that weekend. I go, okay, maybe this is a message that I'm supposed, not maybe. I thought this is like, I listen to those things. So I went to Sedona, and it was a tea ceremony. But what was interesting is it wasn't like in my dream. We didn't drink a tea. They made a tea and they drank it, but it was a tea drinking ceremony that was related to manifesting. And
my brain is all over the place here. Now,
and that's what I'm saying.
I mean, some could say, oh, well, maybe subconsciously she heard something about this and internalized it. Maybe that's what's going on here.
But by the way, I knew nothing I didn't know they had anything with tea. I didn't know they had tea ceremonies. And I didn't know that you drink the tea in your tea ceremony. And I didn't know it had anything to do with manifesting.
What's an astral plane?
So all of the ancient texts and literature talk about how there's we have the physical plane that everything's energy and everything vibrates. And so the earth and our bodies are at the lowest vibrational density. And that as you evolve and the whole thing with enlightenment is as you evolve, your vibrational frequency increases and it gets faster. So for example, there's been research that's been done that says that that feelings like anger, hate, the vibrational frequency is very slow. Feelings like love and joy and excitement, the vibrational frequency is very fast. So what I found is that as I'm evolving, my vibrational frequency is getting faster. And as it does, I'm able to connect and have more and more of these type of experiences. And that's what's happening with the people who are coming to my seminar. Is they were people that had already experienced the shift with me and a number of shifts. And I just felt for these particular people that their next shift was going to be tied together with this knowledge. And that's why all these things have been happening to them that never happened to them. And I didn't expect that it was going to be affecting me as well. So that's what happens. And when you go into, when your vibrational frequency gets what the ancient texts say is that the other realms, like in the astral plane and other beings and everything, if they're high vibrational beings, their vibration is much higher than ours. So we can't connect with them because it's too high. But as we evolve and as our vibration increases, then we're able to connect more and more with these other realms.
You're making some things come very clear why the manifestation works for some, maybe not yet for others. in that if you're living your life on that higher vibration full of love, I know it's not easy, but if you've kind of elevated yourself and squashed the negativity, the lower vibration stuff down, you can get where you want to go easier and faster because, as I'm learning from you, the higher vibration moves faster. It's not slow and sluggish like hate and all of that. Um,
And then should I jump in and say some more? Or
Go
did
right
you
ahead.
want to say? Okay, so like when I shared with you about my experience and with the cluster of synchronicities that basically led me to getting a bouquet of flowers on my birthday from the universe, like I was listening to my intuition. I was following these feelings, and it led me to the universe or people who passed away or other beings. They wanted to give me a bouquet of flowers, and I got it, and they figured out how to do it. What was interesting is a lot of times people talk about that there's communication through technology, and it was interesting. I just realized my computer didn't work. That's what started the whole thing.
Well, I remember you shared that a while back, and then call it synchronicities again. You ran into somebody that fixed your computer. It was a whole story. Go back to previous podcasts, but it's like what you shared when we first started talking today, that electrical problem. Somebody shows up to fix it. Plans. I got extra plans. You want them just out of nowhere or somewhere. It depends on how you want to look at that. But the same thing when you had the computer issue where you went to fix it and just somebody randomly was there.
And it was fixed within minutes, and it cost me $20 or something, you know. So, and not
how do
even
you get
that.
to that place,
Okay, so
Bonnie? How do you
yeah,
get
yeah.
there?
I'll tell you. Okay, because I'm very much into. I've studied all of this esoteric knowledge throughout my life because I had those experiences when I was young, and I wanted to understand what it was. And my journey started when I was younger, and just there were things that happened in my family, and I had a lot of pain, and I wanted to, and I'd always been happy, and I lost that, and I want to know how am I going to be happy again. That's what led me to have all the knowledge that I have that created the shift actualization process, where I'm able to help people be happy. And it's not a lot of work, like you said. It's not, by the way, it's not about pushing down those feelings. There's a process to it, which is what I do with people. That's why what I do is different. It's not pushing it down. It's recognizing if you're sad, if you're angry. Okay, let's look at why. Let's look at what's underneath it. Is it something that's happening? Are they thoughts that you're having? And it allows you to grow. When you grow, then your frequency gets faster because you are let go of those things, because you have a different way of dealing with things in life. And so you don't have that kind of anger, and you don't have that kind of sadness, and you don't have that kind of pain on a regular basis. You'll have it when something happens and you feel sad, but then again, even then you process it because you can see it from a higher vantage point. But so what I want to tell you is that I wrote a workbook. It's actually a book, but I didn't have time to write the whole book, so I made a workbook called Manifesting Your Dreams. And what it is that there's a difference between goal setting and manifesting. Okay, goal setting, I was always very high achievement person, and I set a lot of goals for myself, and I reached them. Manifesting, I'm manifesting as many dreams, but it's a different process. And the process is connected with getting in touch with what you really want and what you're really drawn towards, and making sure that you have enough time, precious energy and time and resources to put into manifesting that. A lot of times people want to manifest something and they start, but they really don't have the time and energy for it. It's already been designated. I shared with you my definition of precious energy, which is we all have a certain amount of energy, and that's also time, and it's precious because it's our own, and it's finite. And that's the energy we use to create and to manifest. So it's important when you're going to manifest that you ask yourself, has that precious energy have I already allotted it to certain things, other things I'm manifesting? And if you want to manifest, it's about you're changing things around so you have the time and energy to do it. And then deciding which one you want to do, because there's so many possibilities. It's about narrowing it down to what you really, really want. And if you have to really want it. And then there's steps to doing it. And that's in my book about how to manifest it. There's actual steps how you manifest.
I want to
The
talk
thing
about
is,
some of those steps in a moment. Just as an example,
yes.
when we talk about that energy, this is, what type of energy did you call it?
Well, I call it precious energy. It's
Precious energy.
my term. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So we have precious energy right here. It's within us. Is it reasonable to think that if there are things in your life that are sucking your energy, people, situations, that this is what you should be putting into manifesting your dreams. But if there's things here that are pulling from your energy, whether you want to or not, allow it or not, it's going to happen. Is that taking away from the manifestation and potentially derailing, getting your dreams?
Okay, so what I would say is we have that precious energy. Now, if there are things like people that you're using so much precious energy to deal with them, to defend yourself from them, to like defend, to explain yourself to like have arguments with, you're using so much of your precious energy, your excess precious energy on something that's not going to give you anything,
Right.
because all of that is toxic and it's unhealthy. So it's about actually deciding if you want this person in your life, and or growing yourself and shifting so that you and they will shift as well, so that you can have a healthy relationship. So then instead of your precious energy being wasted, you're able, it grows, because when you're giving out precious energy and you're receiving it, then you're not losing any precious energy.
No,
Okay.
the way it should be. It's give and take.
Right.
It's the same thing. Why I think we're here. We're here to teach and learn. Teach and
Yes.
learn goes back and forth. But yeah, to your point, um, there are people in our lives that take our energy,
Right. But the
or
thing
we
is,
allow it, or we allow it.
that's right. They want to take it, but we have the ability to decide if we're going to give our precious energy to them. And when we realize, this has been like a really powerful concept for my clients, because it's put together in a certain way. When you realize that your precious energy you have available to manifest and to create your life is finite, and you're using so much on that, yes, it does deplete you. Then you're exhausted. You don't have the energy to manifest. So that's number one.
Yep.
So there's certain things that we use a lot of precious energy on, that we can make changes within ourselves, and also our false voice. And when we're criticizing ourselves and judging ourselves and going around and around about how we didn't do this, or beating ourselves up, that's using a lot of precious energy. So the shift actualization process, you shift out of all of that into a different way of thinking, being, and seeing in life. And then you have all this precious energy available to manifest. Now, that energy is there to manifest. Now, there's sometimes things come up, health issues, somebody passes away or they're ill. The thing is, we are actually choosing to use our precious energy to help ourselves heal. We're using our precious energy to help somebody else heal or to give to someone else. We're choosing to use it that way. If we
Well,
want to get better, we're actively involved with helping ourselves to feel better. So our physical body is part of our physical reality on earth. And as much as we'd love to be able to just not have to deal with some certain physical things, it's part of life. So the thing is that when we know that at that time that our precious energy is being used in those areas, it means that we just put a pause on the manifesting, because now what we're really doing is manifesting those other things. We're manifesting getting our health back, or we're manifesting in helping somebody else, and we've chosen to use our energy that way. But it's for a certain period of time, and then it's about, most of the time those things get better most of the time, and then we're able to have our precious energy available to manifest. And I believe everything happens for a reason. So I believe that I've found that in every terrible thing, and I've been through a lot of terrible things, painful things, that there's always a gift. And if you're going through a really hard time and you're going through it consciously and learning and growing through the process, even surviving the process, but looking at it from a different perspective, then once you've passed through that, you're still on this new path that you've been walking on. That's what I do with clients, on a new path. And you're actually further along because you've grown a lot through the process. And you know that to be true.
I believe everything does happen for a reason, and there's part of the reason is to learn something along the way so you don't do it again. Because if you don't learn it, the universe is just going to it's going to throw it to you again. You didn't learn. I'm going to show it to you again. Going to learn. Going to show it to you again. Interesting what you say, Bonnie, about the energy, the precious energy, because how many times have we said, you're wasting energy on that person? Why are you? We really are wasting energy.
Literally.
Literally. All right. How about a few tips in the steps to manifesting what you want?
So give me an example of something that you may want to manifest, or somebody would want to manifest.
Okay. It's probably one of the number, one or two things that people say. I want to manifest the perfect person for me, the perfect partner in my life. What do I do?
So I would say that there's a spiritual concept that says like attracts like. So if you want to be with somebody who is really healthy and wonderful and loving and which that's what people, no one's looking to be with someone who's like bitter and angry and like, then it's
Yeah. You
important
know
that,
what? I'm looking for somebody who's miserable, a cheater, nasty, can't trust them. Oh, and just doesn't even care about how they look or, whatever. Yeah. Hey, bring it to me. Yeah, never.
so when you focus on yourself and on growing and becoming healthier and being able to release pain from the past and to be able to have a higher vibration and to really be on that level, then you'll be able to be bringing in people who are at that level. When people Normally when people have a lot of pain still or things that they're dealing with, they'll bring in different people will come in and they'll choose to get involved with somebody who's at a lower frequency level and they'll get involved with them anyways. So they're using all that time involved in a relationship when they could be focusing on themselves and growing. And then also putting yourself in environments where there's people who are also healthy and who are living life and passionate about life and who are healthy and have worked through all these different things. And so then you have a better chance of meeting somebody who's right for you. So
Why
that's
do we settle? Why do in your example with somebody who um doesn't support you, and I don't mean this in a nasty way, but a lower
no.
vibration than
Yeah, and
you
when I
are.
say lower and higher, there's no judgment attached to it.
Yeah, yeah, just different. It's not you.
No,
Maybe
no, no. It feels a lot better to be higher vibration. It's just
sure.
that it's like when I talk about going to higher levels of consciousness. It's not, it's a process of always growing, of always evolving. So I was at a lower level of consciousness even 3 months ago. And I'm at a higher level now. Okay. Because what I've been doing with all the work I've been doing with my clients and with these seminars, I'm ending up, my vibrational frequency is going higher because I'm involved with all of these different types of concepts and how to bring it into our lives. And so my vibrational frequency is higher. So, what were you?
Hmm.
I forgot what you were saying.
Why do we center on
Oh
those
yeah, why do
who
we
don't
choose
support us?
people like
Yeah,
that? Yeah, because really, bottom line is when we were children and we were growing up in a home that wasn't healthy, we were treated in a certain. If we were treated in a certain way, we learned to how to survive, and we couldn't get away. So we learned how to adapt to it. And so when we meet other people like that, I think I was mentioning it last time. Instead of going, if you grew up in a healthy home and no one treated you like that, or you never saw your parents treating each other like that, you'd say thanks, but no thanks, and you wouldn't even put an ounce of your precious energy there. But when there's something that you're used to putting up with, when you have and having this mindset that if I want the good things, I'm going to have to put up with some of these awful things, then you allow yourself to be in those situations and in those type of relationships. And also people who are there's a difference between people who are very like understanding and compassionate and know that nobody's perfect. That's all really healthy. But if you take that a little further and you put up with being treated badly because you understand, like I had a client last week who told me, just a few days ago, who was saying, I was talking with her because she's in a relationship with somebody who had originally was really nice and everything. Then he went through some hard times and he started like being yelling at her and being angry at her and everything like that. And I was helping her not to put up with that and stuff. And so she spoke with him about it. And she said to me, last week he came to me and he apologized. He realized he was doing these things. And, so I feel bad, because I've been tough on him. And I go, no, no, no. You see, nice people say, oh, the person realizes it. So now, and nice people do this all the time, that the person realizes it. So no, I was too hard. No, the reason he's apologizing and actually having an opportunity to grow is because you said, I'm not willing to put up with this and be treated this way. That's why he's apologizing. Just because he's recognizing it doesn't mean he's going to change. Let's wait and see if he changes.
Hmm. You know, interesting. The points that you bring up, a lot of us already know, we're aware of a lot of what we're doing. We just don't take action on it, or we resort to those things from our past. So, okay, you're in let's say a relationship with somebody that doesn't support you. Why are you not moving away from that? Many of us have that fear of rejection or being alone. And that all comes from our childhood.
Right. And so
coming from childhood.
when people work with me, I help them. What I call it is that when we're born, we we only have our true self. That's our soul. And our true self, as we grow up, our true self has a voice. I call it the true voice. That's being kind and compassionate to ourselves. But when we're growing up, if we're around people who are critical and judgmental, we start to internalize that and we create a critical judgmental voice in our head, which I call the false voice. And so what happens is as we get older, if that false voice gets louder and we bring in other people who have that same are critical and judgmental of us, then our true voice starts getting softer and our false voice is louder. And so there's a psychological and spiritual concept that says what we think affects how we feel, and how we feel affects our behavior. This is all in my first book, the Experiencing the Shift book. And so when your false voice is loudest, then you feel bad, and then your actions follow. So it has to do with, if you feel like you're an addict, then you feel really bad about it, and then you'll go use again, okay, or whatever it is to make yourself feel better. But your action behaves if you are with somebody and they pull away from you and in relationship, and your false voice says, oh, you see, I'm unlovable, so then you feel really bad, and so then you stop saying what you were going to say and standing up for yourself. So what I do is I help. That's what the basis, the foundation of the shift actualization process is. I help people to hear their true voice. People think that you have to just tell yourself not to say the critical judgmental things. It doesn't work. That's why what I've discovered is different. It doesn't work telling yourself not to say it, because you keep still saying it. It's about recognizing, hearing your true voice more, listening to it more, being around people who see your true self, telling them, yeah, you're right. Okay, there was a client of mine who called, and a new client, and she had decided she wanted to end a relationship with somebody, but she needed strength to do it. I actually had two that did that recently. Okay? And the thing is, they knew it, they had all the clarity, but how'd you do it? And I helped them reconnect with their true self. Then they were able to hear that true voice, because everyone has in their head, like, and they say, why am I doing it? Why am I staying? I know this, but it's because they're disconnected from the power that you get when you're connected with your true self. That's your power to create. That's your power to manifest. And so that's what I do. I help people reconnect with their true self.
You brought up a point. We're out of time, but this one point, I never even thought of it. We tell ourselves not to talk negative, which is reasonable. And if you've gotten to that step in your life, well, good for you in terms of what you're thinking, what you're saying to yourself. Like, let's say you look in the mirror, look at whatever. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say those things. I'm not going to say those negative things anymore. But if you look at it on a subconscious level, your subconscious doesn't know the difference. All it's hearing is, say those negative things, say those negative things. It doesn't know the negative. So it's productive, right, but counterproductive at the same time. I never even thought about that.
I know. And that's why, like, everything I share, that's why I take all the things that are around, that are there to help us be happy, but people don't know how to put it together to make it work. And that's what the process is. And same thing now with the spiritual evolving to these levels and having these manifesting and everything like that happening on that kind of level. You can manifest your dreams without things like that happening. We have the ability to, through our actions, through our choices, to manifest dreams. And if they don't happen, it's because it's not meant to be, or because we're choosing something. Like if someone chooses to be a basketball player and they're 5'4", you have to pick something that's realistic. Okay, but if it doesn't, if you follow the steps, which are in my workbook, if you follow those steps, and it doesn't happen, it's because it's not meant to be. There's something else that your purpose that you chose to come down here to do, and it wasn't that. And that's another very interesting part of manifesting as well.
We're out of time. This is fantastic. So interesting. In my mind, this is what I'm getting so far, along with a lot of other stuff, is we're probably manifesting, those of us who have studied a little bit, manifesting well, but the stuff around us that we're focusing on is inhibiting us really getting what we want. Bonnie, how do we find you?
So my website's bonniebarness.com. And then also I have an esoteric knowledge revealed workshop that's going to be on Thursday, so people can sign up for that. I have my books on my website also, and the Manifesting Your Dreams journal, and my Experiencing the Shift. So I'd love to meet everybody. I also have telephone sessions, so you can always call and have coaching sessions.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot that can truly change your life. Manifesting is just one part of it. But even if somebody wants to even ask you questions, are you available for that?
Absolutely.
Super cool. Always great talking with you. I love
I know.
the viewpoints that come here, especially today, because I've been struggling with the manifesting thing. But I see
Can I tell you something really quickly?
Sure.
You're manifesting what you're doing, what we're doing right now is incredible, Matt. You had this in your mind at some point to create this, and you have this. It's incredible. So it's also important to appreciate what we have manifested and to look at the things that we did that led to that happening. You've manifested a lot in your life. So it's about continuing to do what you were doing, but those unusual type of things that I shared with you that happened to me that are really unusual. That's not usually what happens. And people think that's all what manifesting is. It's not. It's what you've created here. But I've created for us to be here together. That's manifesting, right? But those other things happen when you get to higher and higher levels of your vibrational frequency. Then you're able to connect from everything I've read is you're connecting more with the higher realms that are able to do those kinds of things that seem magical because you're actually tapping into that level of vibration, and then you can start seeing those kinds of things happening more and more in your life.
Well, the
including
synchronicities,
the astral travel.
the synchronicities that you spoke about, where they just show up. No, they didn't. You asked for it. I need to fix this electrical. There's somebody there. Plants. There's some plants. By the way.
No, and exactly.
Brings
and
me to
what I didn't even ask for. I mean, I love flowers, and I love flowers on my birthday, but I didn't think about having flowers. But I was supposed to receive that bouquet. Thank you.
Good for you. On April 5th, correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like your mom. Yeah.
I speak in music. I've played music for forever, and these lyrics dropped out of the sky to me. Fly me high to a starry space, maybe to an astral plane.
Did that just come to you now?
Dreamweaver, big song from 1976. You remember that song? Dreamweaver?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, but I didn't realize those were the words.
Those are the words.
Well, that's my experience.
Well, if that's your experience and it was in a dream. So there you go. Look up those lyrics. I think there's a reason
that's amazing.
They're dropping out of the sky.
But did you see how you said the words came to you?
Yeah.
That's actually you're tapping into. That's channeling. That's why people use these words, manifesting and channeling and things, but you just did it. That's inspiration.
It happened earlier today. Somebody was talking about something, and there was a song that popped in my head by Sting. I mean, these are not random songs. These are like major songs.
Yeah, but it just pops in your, like something like that, right? It just comes to you. You don't have to think about it. Oh, I knew a song. What were the words? That's why they call it downloading, and that's channeling. And
I always wondered what's an astral plane, why that was in that song. Now I know, thanks to you. Bonnie, thanks for being here today. Always super
You're
cool.
Welcome. I know.
Love talking with you. All
right,
we'll talk soon.
Okay, honey. Bye.
Coming right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, I mean, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.